Hi, I'm Jacob, this is John, he's a DNA expert, and today we're going to go through some key points of how a DNA service works. The first thing we're going to go over, John, is breaking down the four main stages of how the DNA service works.
Okay. Stage one, very simple. We need to get your DNA on as many databases as possible. We will send you out a kit unless you've already done a DNA test. The first kit we'll ask you to do is Ancestry. They are by far the biggest database in the world. We're going to may then also get you to do a MyHeritage test, and we can potentially put your DNA onto some other databases. There are a number of databases that are available. And what we do is basically maximise your DNA to give us the most matches that we can get across all the different databases. And that gives us the best scope to find the person that you're looking for. Most people that come to us are looking for a biological father, but I've also done cases for biological mothers, grandparents and other relatives as well. But the general one that we use is biological father. So that's stage one. Once we've got the DNA on there, I will start reviewing the matches, and the aim is to establish which matches belong to the paternal side, so the father side, and which matches belong to the mother's side. And basically, let's say in this case we're looking for a biological father.
Yeah.
I will eliminate all the maternal matches, and then I'm just looking at the paternal matches. The paternal matches, I then go through each individual paternal match and start building out their family trees. And the aim is to identify a common ancestor between a number of DNA matches. Once I've done that, then I can be 100% certain that the person's father descends from these particular common ancestors. So it gives me a sort of a family to start working with that I know the father links to.
Yeah.
Stage two, once we've identified the common ancestor, we've then got the right family, or we may have a couple of families, it's possible, which is also helpful. And what we then do is start building out the family trees. So stage two is basically family tree research. This may be one particular family, it may be multiple families to try and work out how they interlink. That can take anything from a few hours to weeks and weeks of research, depending on the names within the family, where they are, the documents that are available. But then by the end of the family tree research, I would hope that we would have either it narrowed down to one particular person, or we may have a number of people. It could be, quite often what you find is that if you're looking for a biological father, we know they belong to a certain family, but there were three sons born to this family, in which case it could be any of the three sons, but we don't know which one it is. So then we have to start obviously working out which one it is. So that's stage two. Ideally, we've identified the right person or a number of potential matches. Stage three is the intermediary phase. So this is where we are making contact with people. So this might be the person themselves, or it might be close living relatives of that person. That may be to ask them questions, establish that they are the right person. It may be to ask them information about their family tree to get a better understanding about it. It may be to ask them to do a DNA test. You don't know with a DNA search how it's going to go exactly at the start. So stage three is the intermediary, and then stage four is basically the final stage. That's when we know 100% who the, let's say it's a biological, so who the biological father is, and then what we will do is we provide you with a report and the family tree, and hopefully we can put you in contact with either the person themselves if they're happy to do that, or a close living relative. Sometimes the biological father's passed away, in which case we may be contacting a son or a daughter, or even a grandson or granddaughter, and they will hopefully have information about that person that they're willing to share with our clients. So this, it could be photos, it could be sort of army records or things like that. But just to allow us and the client to build up a picture about the person that they're looking for.
Yeah. Perfect. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think one of the key points I want to touch on is, if, say, someone's come to us looking for their biological father, does it make a difference if the subject of the search, so the father, has not done a DNA test?
No, in fact, it's very unlikely that the father has done the DNA test in this example. I think in all the times that I've been doing this, I think there's maybe one case that's happened in. So it is very rare. I don't need the father to have done it. What I need is a relative of the father. So this could be the father's parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, someone that links to one of those people to have done the test.
Yeah.
So what we might be looking at, I'll give you an example, is if we're looking at, say, a second cousin match, what that means is that the common ancestors will be at grandparent or great-grandparent level. So let's say you've got a DNA match. What I would then need to do is look at that match, go back to their grandparents and great-grandparents, work out who the siblings are, and then come down the generations, and one of those children or grandchildren are going to be your father.
Yeah.
So you like I say, you never want the person to do it. You just need someone that is related to them in some way, and it could be going back 3, 4, 5, 6 generations. That's what we need. And I have never had a case where there's not been matches that we can at least look at and start with. Every DNA that I've seen has always had paternal matches and maternal matches.
Yeah. So I think that's what makes the first stage so important. Obviously, getting that DNA and identifying that match, which we can get started from. I think that's one of the biggest things that people raise as an issue to me.
Yeah.
The next one, which I'd like to touch on, is, does it make a difference if people believe their heritage to be international, so across the world, or?
No, the Ancestry database is a worldwide database. There's literally tens of millions of people on there throughout the world. So we can research pretty much in any country in the world, and it's just using our external researchers based in that country to do the family tree research for example, or or get the addresses so we can make contact with these for the intermediary service. So we can do worldwide searches from a DNA perspective. There may be slightly different costs depending on where we have to search, but generally we can look anywhere.
Yeah.
I've found people all over the world and of all different ethnicities and backgrounds. So
Okay, perfect. So another thing which just come to my mind is the DNA service has been, I guess, created for people who feel like they've not got a lot of information. Would you feel like that's correct? That it's, anyone, it's obviously accessible to anybody, but there's obviously people out there who know nothing about, say, their birth father, they have no information at all.
The majority of cases that I work that are looking for a birth father or a biological relative, generally they don't have any information. I would say 90% of the cases. Generally we have no idea who we're looking for, we don't have a name. Generally you're starting from scratch.
I guess that's what's so brilliant about the DNA service, is people can come to us with no information whatsoever.
The thing I say to people is the DNA will always lead us to the truth.
Yeah. So I think we've really covered the main points of the DNA, and I think you've explained how vague it can be, and each case is obviously very different. But when you come into the end of a case, what do you deem as success of someone coming to us? What is that end goal? What do we want to be able to provide somebody?
Ideally, the name of the person. Ideally, we'd like to put them in contact with that person if they're still alive. Obviously, if they've passed away, then we'd be looking at getting them contact with close living relatives. Obviously, we will provide certificates or as much information as we can about the person if they have passed away, for example, which could be birth certificates, marriage certificates, death certificates, etc., or records and things like that. Obviously, that doesn't really paint a massive picture about the person. So ideally, contacting the living relatives, they can put sort of a bit more colour to the picture You know, hopefully they can provide photos. They can tell us about the person, how they spent their life, what they were like as a person. So the idea is to give the client as much information about this person as possible, and hopefully put them in contact with the right person or a close living relative to build out that picture for them.
Perfect. So once someone's gone through this entire process, through the DNA with yourself, not only will they have hopefully identified the subject of the search, but also they'll have a great insight into their family history.
Yeah, I mean, I have to create a family tree,
Yeah.
and you know, the client will receive that family tree at the end of it. You know, there might be 100, 200, 300 people on this family tree, all the paternal
So
side.
it's not just finding that person,
no,
it's getting that level of understanding.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at a full explanation on how our DNA service works. I hope you've enjoyed and found it interesting. If you do have any more questions, don't hesitate to get back in touch with us. I'm sure John will be more than happy to go through it on a more personal level and can give you examples of how it could work for you. But I think that's everything, so thank you for watching.